In 1959, Miles Davis released his album A Kind of Blue. Really important album. Not only was it one of the first stereo releases, so it sounded good as well, but it was really bringing jazz to the sort of masses. And why was that then? Well, there's two blues standards. There's All Blues and Freddie Freeloader, which are just straight ahead blues tunes. And then a tune that's great for keyboard players who are learning as well. I mean, obviously it wasn't that at the time, but it's a tune called So What, which is D minor, which is all the white notes here. And then it goes to E flat minor for 8 bars, which is all the black notes. So a keyboard player who's learning to play jazz has a kind of very, very safe standard on which to practice. Now, the tune I'm going to talk today about is Blue in Green. Now, this is my favourite tune on that record. It's just beautiful. The chord changes just really are something else. And the lyrics, which were written separately, hues of blues and green surround me, knowing you will find another love. Yeah, it's all real sentimental stuff. So, soloing over complicated chord changes like that really does require a sort of connection with the words, really. I mean, the words obviously aren't on the record, but when you listen to the solos themselves, they are really simple and just every single note is in impeccable taste. And that's the way to sort of treat something like this. So I'm going to press go on my little iPhone here, which has got the backing track, and I'm going to play just with the blues scale on D, because it's in D minor. Let's see what happens with that. Will it work? Well, it should be all right. The way to do this is just to find out and have a go. So that's the chord sequence. It's 10 bars, which is in itself quite a nice thing, because it's not regular like everything else. But obviously the blues scale, you've got to pick your notes carefully, because some of the chords in there are pretty complicated. Now this is where you can start working inside that minor pentatonic and trying a few notes that sort of fall in between the positions that you've got. So we've got this. See what happens. Now this is great because it's sort of trial and error in a lot of ways. Of course you can follow the theory. The first chord is G minor 6, so the G minor 6 has an E in it, which is actually the tune, and you find that a lot with jazz standards. The tune obviously often defines the sort of chord quality. A7 sharp 9. It's got a C in it, but the C is in the blues scale. So I'm going to try a few things that go between. See what happens this time. So I'll just try a few notes that appear inside this pentatonic. Now I had to sort of wander slightly out of position just to get the E, for example, that G minor 6th. You have an E which actually appeared just an octave below. So it went slightly out of position as well. Now, of course, just working in one place can get a little bit boring. But the advantage of the blues scale, particularly on guitar, is that because the positions are slightly different, it leads to other ideas happening. So we can do something like the D minor blues scale here. So we have that E actually in position. So I could try the same thing, but actually starting at 5th fret here. It's a bit lower, but that's okay. That's all right. Here we go. And then I can try stuff that's basically between the two. So I had these two positions and this, but also if you do something like this, if you link the two together, it means that you can pass some notes along the way. So D minor, that's the D natural minor scale, so it's worth having that under your fingers as well. So we've got the pentatonic, the D minor pentatonic, which is D, F, G, A, C, D. So there are 5 different notes, 6 in there because I repeated the first note. Now the natural minor, it's got the E in it as well, and the B flat. So that brings it up to 7 different notes, or an 8-note scale if you include that final one as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now if I use that scale, it does afford me a few more possibilities on which to base my ideas. Now this is sort of branching out from these notes. Now, you don't want to go up and down scales because that's boring. What we could do is to try and maybe jump in thirds or even fourths. See what happens with that over the first chord. So doing things like arpeggios and jumps of fourths or even fifths or sixths actually just increases things. Now I did some chromatic stuff there. Chromatics are really useful, and chromatic basically meaning you play every note between 2 other notes. For example, it's great if it lands on a note that works, and utterly disastrous if it lands on one that doesn't. So if you know where you're going, you can essentially play rhythmically. You don't have to go necessarily with the beat that's shown. So there are many possibilities here, but actually, sometimes is all that's needed to convey the subject matter of a tune like this.